Hello, everyone. This is Live with Main Street. My name is Anna Sergunina, and I've got my partner in crime,
Jim Ludwig. Hi, everybody. And this is Main Street Live, a little delayed because yours truly could not get our scheduled event to start live. There was no start the broadcast button. So, Anna, we had to go to our backup, which is we're doing it live, but we're going to have to send everybody out a new link to see this. So
Yes.
What's our topic for this month?
It is transitions, and transitions can be thought from all kinds of angles. I think the financial planning is one of the areas that we help our clients to go through when they go through life transitions, from all the way from graduating from high school, college, starting families, growing up, becoming adults, getting married, buying houses, getting divorced, transitioning to retirement. Just name anything will be a transition. And, I think, Jim, you can agree that you're always going to have to face a financial side of the transitions. So we are equipped to help you with that. We've got a few questions to share with you. And unfortunately, we're not live, but we'll be happy to answer your questions if you send them right after this broadcast or shortly after. So, Jim, to start with the theme of transitions for this month, let's talk about one of the major transitions or events that all of us will experience, which a lot of times is referred to as retirement. And I think we also started to think about retirement, not just that, because the landscape of how people work and what they do and the technology is changing. So we started to focus on the financial freedom aspect. And so the question that came in from one of our clients is this. So when faced with life-changing events such as retirement, how do you make peace with sort of thinking from and starting to withdraw from your various assets, right? Because all of this time up until now, you've been working hard and the mentality was to save. It's just this mental shift that has to happen. And for some people, it's difficult. So what tips do we have to help our clients to kind of go through that mental shift?
Well, that is a really excellent and frequent question we get. And it's interesting because my experience working with engineers, they arrange the withdrawal from their accounts like a paycheck. Every 2 weeks, some money comes in, or every month, money comes in. So they feel like they're working. And in fact, retirement accounts is really deferred compensation. So when you start to take money out of retirement accounts, it's like having a part-time job because you have to pay income taxes on it. And if you take it from a taxable account, you might have to pay capital gains on anything that you sell. And of course, there's interest and dividends that come in. So arranging it like a paycheck sort of smooths out that transition to retirement. But you've gone from an accumulation phase to a preservation and payout phase. And Anna, I'm working on a very extensive webinar that'll probably be ready by the end of the month or the 1st of June on how to do different kinds of withdrawal strategies. So it's going to help people transition from saving money and putting it away to all of a sudden we have to take it out. But the engineers have solved that problem, in my opinion, by turning it into the weekly, the monthly, the bi-monthly check.
Great idea. I also have a resource to share. I attended a presentation a number of years ago by this woman named Sarah Zev Gibber, and she has a very interesting book that I think everyone coming to this phase of entering retirement should check out. It's called Live Smart After 50, and we'll share a link in the comments section so you can check it out. But I think, and one of the things that she pointed out in her presentation is for us to start thinking about, all right, well, this is what I've done up until now, right? And it was kind of all maybe around career and raising family, and it was more focused on that. So the next phase is going to be more focused on questions such as who am I, and things like what am I enjoying, doing, so that therefore when you think about the financial aspect, right, and how do you take the money out of your various accounts and what's the best strategy, so it doesn't scare you as much because you are coming to it from a different angle. So it's a really interesting concept, because I think we all need to realize that it's not just the financial piece that has to come together for a lot of people to get to that phase. But it's the mental shift and the being comfortable, right, and having goals for yourself that has to come together. So check out that. She also has a website. It's called lifeoncore.com. So we'll have all of these linked up in the comments below our video.
That also, Anna, that also reminds me of a comment one of my older Rotarian friends made a number of years ago when he told me, every day is Saturday. So, so that's a new mindset. Every day is Saturday. Although, Anna, we're recording this on Saturday and we're still working.
I know, right? So, but I think it also, Jim, comes down to what is it that you want to do? It could be a Saturday every day, right? And it could be an exciting day. But I think for some folks who their life is based on what they do at work, right? Or the work is their life. I can see how it could be challenging, right? To say, oh my gosh, it's Saturday, I don't have to go to work. So doing a little bit of self exploration is probably going to be helpful. So let's change gears a little bit. So retirement is a fun place. Everybody will get there. Some of us already are starting to transition. But let's talk a little bit about a fun phase as well, is when you are starting out and you're having family and you're starting to have kids. Now, it's very obvious, I think, that a lot of parents have a goal to make sure that their kids are well taken care of and they go to college, right? So it's obvious that maybe you need to start saving and open an account for doing something like that. So the question that we got from our client is, if we're having a second child, do we need to open another 529 college savings account? Can we just use the one we already have? So what tips do we have for that?
Well, you can use one account for 2 children. And in fact, most plans allow you to move the beneficiary to one of 25 or 30 different family members, including the parents. So you could threaten your child, if you don't go to college, I'm going back to get my PhD. Could be like that. But opening it for a separate child is an opportunity to tell your relatives and friends, especially at baby shower time or right after the birth, that the college fund is already open and we already have enough things for our number 2 child. And if you'd like to contribute to their college fund, we would really appreciate that. Do in a couple of months, but we already have the fund open. If you'd like to help them go to your alma mater, why don't you just maybe drop the check and we'll put it right in their college fund.
Jim, I also think that it just creates the ease of tracking, right? So if you have a separate account for, that's just easy to see. All right, how much is it growing by, and what changes do you need to make? The other point I think that worth mentioning is that some states, not all states, offer tax deductions, right? So if you have 2 children, you probably are better off to have 2 separate accounts, so that when you are making contributions or the gifts from relatives that go in there, right, if they give you the money, then you can benefit from double the deduction. It's not a whole lot. It's state deduction on your tax return, state tax return, but it's just an extra feature. So I think altogether we're agreeing that it's worthwhile opening a second account.
It certainly is. And you can always let your kids know when they're teenagers, if they're closer together, well, if you don't go to college, I'm transferring all your money to your brother or your sister. So it's another way to kind of sort of poke them to study hard and get accepted into that good school.
Right. Well, another fun transition phase that we all gone through is when we're just finishing up high school or finishing up college. But I think this is speaking from the personal experience, is that I wish I had more knowledge around finances, right? I wish I had that, even though later part of my young adulthood is when I learned about and, got a degree. But I think this is one of the areas that we probably should put more emphasis. So what tips do we have for young adults that evolve around learning good money habits, having right tools in place, and just really, becoming smart with their money?
Well, Anna, there's a lot of books that are focused on young people and encouraging them to start habits so that they can save money and save on expenses. The classic one that we've recommended over the years is The Automatic Millionaire. By just routinize your savings and recognize where
Jim, I think I lost you here. What's going on?
Well, we got interrupted there, Anna.
I know. I thought I lost you for a second. Is somebody trying to join us?
You can never lose. No, I think it was, I'm at the Marriott Hotel near the St. Louis airport. This is not a paid advertisement. The Wi-Fi isn't as good as I would hope it would be.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
All
right.
Claim it's a Marriott problem, okay, not ours. Anyway, there are a lot of good books and blogs, and we can put them in the comments below so people can link on them. But I think it's the really issue of starting the right habits early. Can I tell you one story about one of my family members?
Yes, you should.
I got a text message the other day from my younger son, who has one daughter. She just turned 10, and they've opened up a savings account for her. And she doesn't get an allowance, but she gets paid for various jobs. But the stipulation is she has to save at least 25% of what she gets paid for. She has to give 25 cents away to charity. And then she can do anything she wants with the other 50%. And that includes saving for bigger items that she might want. And so Grandpa, who I know very well, wrote back and say, every dollar that she puts away, Grandpa will match it. And so that's trying to teach a 10-year-old habits of saving, and they get introduced to that matching concept like your 401k. And if that's the habit they grow up with, they're more inclined to be really good savers. So I was proud of my son for starting that. I did call my other son and recommended he do the same thing for the kids.
Of course.
And break Grandpa. But it's important in that transition from young child to a child who's growing older, and to establish those really good habits like saving right away.
Yes. Well, so a couple of things I wanted to share. I agree with that. Saving is a big one, but I think also, and let's face, young adults today have the tools that I didn't have. I'm not even talking about you, Jim, when you were a young adult, but I'm talking about, the technology, the phones that we have, the access to everything. So knowing how to use those tools is quite important. But the same idea of not just saving, which is good, also being responsible with managing your expenses, to stay on the top. I think the big challenge that all the young adults facing today is humongous student loan debt, right? That's a big problem that everybody faces. So how do we deal with something like that? Well, if we have our basic foundation down, right? If we know where expenses are coming from, where income is at, you can have a structure, and you can actually give yourself a good platform to be responsible with it. And if you stay frugal, right? We talked about this before, Jim, that if you stay frugal and still kind of live as a student, even though you're not a student anymore, hopefully you can get on the path of getting rid of whatever debt you have, whether it's student loans or, well, one of the mistakes I've made when I graduated from college, I had a credit card debt. Well, you know what? I didn't know any better, right? Credit cards, they were just giving them away on college campus. I got one, but I didn't have the right habits in terms of, using it. I've learned from the mistake. So I'm sure there are folks like that. So if you've gotten yourself in trouble, figuring out these basics, I think is very prudent. Now, the other concept that I think I learned later on was paying yourself first. And it kind of ties in everything that we just talked about. And I think the Automatic Millionaire book talks about it as well, Jim, that you have to understand the fact that if you don't put priorities in paying yourself first, and what it really means is saving, right? In the same kind of a structure as your son Kevin teaching Jojo, right? Put a certain amount of money away, give a certain amount of money to charity, and then have a little fun kind of a allowance for that. So if you can get this concept of paying yourself first, I think it's going to get a long way. That way, the more money you start making, the better it can be put to good use and help you achieve your goals. Because we see this a lot with clients, right? When they don't have a structure, when they don't have sort of everything in place, the idea of having them save more is quite more challenging. So if that one tip alone you can remember, I think it's going to get you very far. Anything you want to add, Jim?
Well, in the old days when we had the Pony Express, and that's how we got our monthly statements, I had a passbook savings account at Bank of America, and every week I would go down and put my 50 cents into the account, and the teller would add it to the account plus whatever the interest was from the month before, and I had a physical thing that I could watch my money grow. Well, we can do that on the internet now, and you can watch it on your iPad or your iPhone or your Android phone. And so you can have the same kind of a thrill of watching your money grow, and you can see a graph or a chart on it. And so there's the same kind of visual reinforcement for people today as we had back in the old days with that little passbook savings account.
Yeah, that was fun. I actually did have when I opened my first checking account, I had a checkbook that you had to balance. So that was fun. Some people still do that today. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's not about having to entirely switch to being digital and using tools like your phone or computer. So it's not about that. It's about being responsible and doing and creating good habits, right? We talked about that.
Yes. So can we transition to our final question area, which is travel?
This is a fun transition, I think. So I think it's worth talking about, travel, because summer is right around the corner. And so do we have suggestions and tips for how to think about, because I know that a lot of our clients will be taking vacations and going places. I think wedding season is also in May and June. So and you, Jim, love to travel. I think you're taking off to Italy pretty soon. So I'm sure there's lots of planning involved. It all comes down to having that in place. And, the financial piece is quite important. So what do we have to share?
Well, many times people pay more attention to planning their vacation travel than they do their financial lives. So we'd like to reverse that, at least put in that pitch, to spend as much time on your financial life and achieving all your goals as is planning that next vacation. But this day and age, there is a lot of information out there to help you make good decisions about travel. There are websites that track airplane fares. Google now is getting really good at pricing hotel and airplane tickets. I go to Google Maps to find the local hotel, and they're telling me all the other prices of all the other hotels in the area for that night. And so there's a lot of good information out there. I like the app on my iPhone called Rabbit that tracks all the trips I want to make, and they tell me when to purchase that airplane ticket. That's sort of a combination of artificial intelligence going in there now, plus knowing what airlines have done in the past. It's the same way with hotels, although there's some consolidation in the hotel industry. So you have to be extra astute. I think what we do for our clients, Anna, is give them subscriptions to Kiplinger Personal Finance and Money Magazine, and a lot of good travel tips are incorporated into those two magazines. And last year's tip needs to be updated, and that's why still subscribing to those kind of periodicals is really good, because it's sort of us versus us, the consumers, versus them, the providers, and they want to make more profits, and then we have to spend extra effort trying to find the good deals. And it's changed from 5 and 10 years ago, so you can't rely on old techniques. You constantly have to be looking for new ideas in the travel industry.
For sure. But I still also think, even though, I still think it's worth having a plan in terms of, okay, how many trips are you going to take, or what are you going to do in the next year, right? So having an idea and using tools like you're suggesting to be prepared ahead of time, so it's not, a last minute kind of thing, and you don't have to, pull your credit card to pay for that. I mean, you can, unless you have reserves to pay it off, right, at the end of the trip, then that's totally fine. So still a bit preparation ahead of time.
And ahead of time, in my example, because I'm always looking at my own example, right now I'm tracking trips at Christmas time for Carol and I to go someplace to visit with family members. And we had our little money date last week, and we decided where we're going to go. And now I'm tracking hotels and airplane tickets. It's May, the 1st of May, and I'm trying to make the December decisions, because I know that as soon as the flights start filling up, the ticket prices are going up.
Yeah. You are good with planning ahead of time, Jim. You are good. I'm going to give you all that credit, because I am not as good.
But now you've been encouraged to change your habit, Anna.
I have, for sure. Actually, here's what happened. Yuri and I this morning were talking about what trips we're going to take and when. So I'm improving. There's hope. All right. Well, this is probably,
we need to wrap it up here, Anna.
This is all we've got for today, and our time is up. So wish everybody.
Do you want to? I apologize for not having it tuned. I think next month we'll use our webinar, zoom.us.
We'll figure this out, whichever platform works.
Because we can have up to 100 people on our Zoom platform. And it's a new platform we've been using for our webinars. And we can record it also, and we can upload it to YouTube. So we do have an archive of it. But I think next month, we'll decide to do it because I can't have another failure, Anna. 2 months in a row is a big problem.
That is a big problem. All right, we'll work on that. There's always room for improvement, but I think we want to wish all mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. It's coming up pretty soon, so it's this month. Of course, we love you, and we wouldn't be here without you. And yes, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next month. Bye, Jim.
Bye, Anna. Bye, everybody.